Hi, and welcome to a new edition of Spirit of the Valley. We, again, have struck it rich with someone that we kind of named the show after, someone who has an active life in an extreme way, in this case, and I'll find out more about her other life, if she can have one with what she does. This is Sarah Groff, and I am just delighted you're here. You've just come back, and we grabbed you.
Hi, Judy. Thanks. No, it's great to be on the show. I'm not frequently at home in the Upper Valley, but when I am, it's really nice to do something.
It's fun
like
to get
this.
that little window. We've done it with other Olympians, and I always say, let me know when you're in town. If you have 5 minutes, 30 minutes, just swing by. But Sarah is about to go to the 2012 Olympics as a triathlete. And this is unusual because triathlons, it's the three normal Ironman type, right? Biking, swimming, running?
Swimming, biking, and running, yeah.
I didn't even know how long it's been in the Olympics.
The first year I was in the Olympics was in 2000.
That's what I was thinking, because I thought of it as brand new. But she has qualified. She has just been over in Australia working her little rear end off to get ready. She's now going to go to Switzerland, is it? Mm-hmm. To do her... That'll be her last base of training, and then on to London. And I can only imagine what it takes. I have to know first, were you an athlete all your life?
Yeah, my parents were pretty active, and I was the youngest of 3 kids, and we just grew up pretty much constantly doing something. I was the kind of kid who was barefoot running around in the backyard when I wasn't playing sports.
That's good.
So just, my entire life I've been active.
Well, we need more of that.
Yeah, no, I know.
The kids outdoors playing creatively kind of on their own doesn't happen anymore. I used to be told to stay outside until a tornado came. And that was my parents' rule. You're not going to be inside. So what sports did you play before you really got narrowed down to the 3 that you...
Yeah, so when I was a kid, I played pretty much every sport you can imagine. My first sport was soccer. We're a big soccer family, and then I picked up swimming pretty much just because my sister told me I wasn't allowed to. So when you have an older sister who tells you you can't do that, well, and then I had to beat her. So I kept on...
Well, that was the icing on the cake.
Exactly.
And I hope you did.
Eventually.
She hasn't spoken since.
No, she's okay.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
No, she's a writer, so she has her niche now. But
friendly competition is not an oxymoron, folks. You can do it in school. You can do it in the sports arena. It just keeps you moving, keeps you motivated, and you win one day, your friend wins the next, and that kind of thing happens, and it doesn't hurt anybody.
Absolutely.
So when did you decide that these 3 were going to? that you were going to go for triathlon?
Well, so I was a swimmer growing up as a kid. I grew up in a small town, Cooperstown, New York.
Baseball time.
Exactly, but about 2,000 people, pretty remote. We still had a good number of sports at our disposal, but it was a matter of just trying out a whole bunch of things and seeing what I like to do. I realized that I loved swimming, I loved running. My favorite part of soccer practice was the 2-mile run we did before practice, so I finally gave up the soccer part of it. And then I knew about Ironman triathlon. It seemed really, really long. And then when 2000 came around, it was first in the Olympics, I realized, there's this shorter format. It takes about 2 hours. It's more speed and tactics.
Right.
And that sounds way more interesting than being out in Hawaii for 8-9 hours.
Exactly.
So that it kind of entered my mind. I was still in school there. I was just over the hill in Middlebury College.
Middlebury. I'm a mid-family.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah. So I did a few in college, a few in high school, but then I somehow knew I was going to come back to it and gave myself a few years, said I want to see if I can get pretty good at this, and I got pretty good quickly and became a full-time job, and here I am now going to the Olympics.
And it is a full-time job.
Absolutely.
You watch an Ironman anywhere or a triathlon anywhere, and you cannot do that seriously without giving up almost everything else.
Yeah, well, really any sport at the very elite level, you do have to sacrifice some things. Thankfully, it's not. It doesn't come across as a huge sacrifice.
Yeah.
You know, like I alluded to before, you live out of your suitcase most of the year.
Yeah.
I don't get to be here that much. I get to be here a little bit in the spring and a little bit in the fall and winter. Yep. But the rest of the year, I'm either in Australia or Switzerland.
Are those the main, have always been the training bases?
Well, just
because of the season and
the program I'm in right now. Australia, because it's you know, southern hemisphere.
Right.
When it's snowing and cold here and I can't ride my bike outside here, I can go down there and it's beautiful summer weather.
Fabulous.
And then most of our races are in Europe for the summer season. So we go to Switzerland just because it's absolutely stunning. But the training, the training's great, and it's just a really easy travel within Europe to the different races.
Do they put you through the real thing several times? I mean, you've done as training.
Yes.
You do a triathlon.
So we do a series. I know a lot of sports have something similar, like, you know, there's World Cup for skiing, for example, where we have a number of races. It's called the World Triathlon Series. And I just had one this past weekend in Sydney. And we'll do a number of them, and you end up with an end of the year ranking. And so you try to do as many events as possible and do well in them. But they're the exact same distance, it's the exact same format, same competition. So it's the best practice for racing is racing.
It is. I mean, doing the actual thing as a training, where most people train in one way and then the actual event isn't quite the same. There's big advantage to that.
Well, just it's because it's so fast and there's so many skills that you can only develop when you're actually doing the event.
Exactly.
It makes it you have to do it. It's part of the training, like you said.
I mean, you see people training in gyms for certain things and on fields for certain things, but it isn't for the exact sport they're about to play.
Right.
You get to do the best possible way to train.
Yep.
So you went to Middlebury, and was it right after Middlebury? Hello, Middlebury fans. My husband and my daughter both went there, so we're very much a blue and white family. How soon after Middlebury did you start the bug?
Pretty much right away. My first season out of college, I got my professional license, and it happened pretty quickly. I for a couple of years, I still had to work part-time jobs and do everything to kind of support my training and racing. But then I reached a level where I was able to just do triathlon, and I was fortunate that it came fairly quickly, because it's very difficult trying to work and train and race at the same time.
It sounds impossible to me, just given what I've watched Hannah Carney go through and other people. Do you know are you pretty well connected and acquainted with all the Olympians in the Valley?
I've met quite a few, actually. It's an incredible area to have so many Olympians.
From such a small place.
Now they tend to be more of the cold weather types.
That makes sense.
Yeah, no, which makes sense, but it is absolutely incredible.
But we've had 3 or 4 of them on the show, and there are more we haven't even touched yet. And I'm always blown away when they gather for one of their send-offs, and you look around and they're 20 of them standing there from little old Hanover, Norwich.
And you wouldn't know it. I mean, they're normal. We're normal people. Olympians are normal people.
I knew that when you walked in the door. But people think they see celebrity differently. They think it changes people immediately. And we've had Hannah on a few times, and she hasn't changed. She's just better at what she does, and she has had sort of a makeover, I guess, but she kids about that, but it doesn't change someone who's got brought up in the values of the Valley.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, I watched the Ironman, I've watched the Hawaiian one several times. I don't quite know how you sustain for those.
I don't do that distance.
I know.
So that's a grueling
So what is the distance of your?
So it takes about 2 hours.
Yep.
It's just short of a mile swim.
Yep.
About 25-mile bike and 6-mile run or 10K.
Sounds enough to me.
Yeah, and it's very I have some good friends in Ironman. They're absolute, I don't know, they're machines. They have to be out there for 8-9 hours, and to be able to do that, it's almost a different sport. For us, it's so fast. If you have, if you have one little mistake, it can cost you your entire race.
Yep.
A lot of it is positioning on the bike, and you have to, think about. It's very tactical, very strategical. With Ironman, for example, it's really a race against the clock.
Yeah, and they have, as you said, if you make a mistake, that could be the end of it. In Ironman, you have time to make it up.
Yeah, yes and no. If it's a nutrition or pacing mistake, then that's a long day at the office.
That's a different thing.
But for us, it's if you drop your shoe, your race is pretty much over. Yeah.
Now, what kind of support? Do you have people going along with you, your own hand-picked people that are your support? Or not so much?
Well, I'm fortunate to be part of a training squad. My coach is an Australian, and he has this little group that he's formed of athletes. Most of us are going to the Olympics. None of us are from I'm the only one from the U.S.
Are you?
So there are no repeat countries. We have an Austrian, we have a Belgian, we have a South African, a Swede, a Brit, and a German.
Oh my gosh! And
our massage therapist is Dutch.
I think that's fabulous. How much? What an interesting,
really
diverse bunch of people to spend a lot of time with.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I mean, you get a lot of culture thrown at you.
Yeah.
6, 7 different cultures and yours too, to be shared. Oh, I think that's great. So he's with you at every event.
Yeah, so he'll come to the events.
He'll be at the but where is he stationed? In other words, what's his role when you're actually doing your event?
When we're racing, coaches say that by the time you get to the event, their work's done. The second the gun goes off, there's nothing they can do. They might be able to say something, and hopefully the athlete will hear them.
You'll hear that one voice.
That might make a difference.
Yeah.
But most of the time, once we're racing,
but
his job.
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say his job is to spectate, and
it should be done. If he hasn't done it by then, he hasn't done it right at all.
And he gets a lot of input by going to these races. We learned a lot this past weekend of things that I need to work on. And you take these little bits and you go back to work and you address them, and it's a constantly evolving process.
Well, now where do you go out? I mean, you don't train here, but where you must go do some of these in this area. Do you, when you're home?
I do train when I'm here.
You do.
I'm going to be here until about mid-May.
So do you do the full loop for?
I won't do a triathlon while I'm here.
Okay. That's what I was wondering.
Our competitions are all over the world.
Okay.
I will go to, we have an event in San Diego in the second week of March.
Okay.
Or of May, sorry. And I'll go off and do that and then come back here. But the training's phenomenal here. I love training here.
But you're doing each part of it at some point regularly.
Yeah.
Where do you swim?
I swim the Upper Valley Aquatic Center.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And then biking can be anywhere?
Anywhere. Running anywhere.
And you need both the incline and not, so you're in the perfect place to get a hill up
Yeah. No, hills make you strong.
And the running can be, the running has to be flat or not?
Hills make you strong and everything.
But are you doing, so you have both hill and flat in the actual event?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah,
good.
being an inner city race, the London course is
true.
absolutely flat.
It's not exactly rural in London.
Right,
Okay.
but we have some events that are very, very hilly. We'll have an event at the end of the year, and our finale for the season is in Auckland. And Auckland, if anybody's been to Auckland, it's up and down, really steep hills.
Yeah.
So you have to be prepared for both the flat courses and the really hilly ones.
And as you say, incline, I know this just from being a gym rat, that incline adds tremendously to your cardio workouts and things like that. If you're on the flat all the time, you're doing some good, but you're not doing as much as you could.
Well, it's a different load. You build strength and you put a little bit more stress in your cardiovascular system without putting as much impact into the ground. And hills always pay off even on the flats because you have that extra bit of strength.
The stamina, the whole thing. I know I've always been told to do interval running, walking on a treadmill or something, but that's just, I'm slightly older than you, so I don't do it quite as much. So you go to Switzerland. How long ahead of time do you land in London? How much time do you have to get used to your surroundings?
We'll only be there a couple days. So the idea, I'm going to be training up at altitude.
Yeah.
And for endurance sports, it's really important to get your timing right when you come down from altitude. So for me, there's a few-day window where either you come down about 10 days out or a few days out from an event. And I'll miss the opening ceremonies. I'll miss a lot of the early hubbub. But I want to perform well, and I'll be able to go to the closing ceremonies.
Well, you get to one, and one or the other is important, I think, just because it's pretty darn exciting. But however you've done, the whole ceremony is so, the pomp and circumstance of all of that, I think I like that as much as watching the events. But so you're choosing to just stay training longer and be in London less time.
I'm choosing to avoid some of it because the opening ceremonies is a really tiring event, and it would take away from my performance. This
is a mark of a true athlete, folks, a humble athlete who doesn't care that she's seen on camera arriving with the U.S. contingent. And I like that. I like that about you and anyone who would choose that, although I think it's fine for people to go. Someone has to go. You don't have a flag carrying itself, so someone has to be there. But I didn't know you had a choice.
I would love to go, but it just doesn't work out timing wise. I know, for example, in Beijing, some of the athletes, they just told me how incredible it was, but they were sitting around for hours, and it was really, really hot and humid, and they're corralled for hours waiting for this event, and they're wearing these blazers. They've just absolutely sweat through their blazers. But then again, my triathlete friends, they walked in next to LeBron James. So, they got some really good camera time, but it may have hurt the race a few days later, sitting around sweating
they
that
were wiped
much.
out after that.
It exhausted them.
Thing.
So it's a trade-off. It's a trade-off. And I would like to think that, maybe I'll get another shot at the Games in 2016 for Rio de Janeiro.
Good.
And if I go then, I'll probably go to opening ceremonies. But this time around, no.
But you can enjoy the ones you're going to go to because you're done by then, and you're not worried about it draining you and taking away from some of your energy. And if you're sweating through your blazer, then you don't care.
Yeah.
Now you're from Wilder, or are you?
I live in Wilder.
Where are you from originally?
So
I figured that out.
I was actually born in Hanover many years ago. The old hospital before it got razed to the ground. Yeah, and my family moved around a bit, but we ended up in Cooperstown, New York when I was 4, and that's where I grew up.
So no school here or anything?
No school here.
Just born here?
Yeah.
Well, it's historical to have been born in the hospital that is now a parking lot.
I know.
So when you're training, are you alone, or are you buddied up with?
Well,
does the whole team train together always?
Yes, that's one of the parts of real benefits of having a training squad.
Exactly.
So those international athletes I was talking about before, we get to train together, and we bring out each other's strengths and weaknesses, and it's a partnership in the best sense.
And you hope you get along.
Yeah, for the most part, we get along.
There's a lot of bonding going on there.
There's a lot of bonding.
I mean, you have to get along to some degree, or it could so distract from what you're trying to accomplish if there are infighting going on and all that.
Absolutely, and we've actually I've been with this current coach for about 2.5 years. And I've seen the program change quite a bit, athletes come in and out, just because the dynamics aren't quite right. And trying to find the right dynamics, some athletes just don't fit in the group, and either they take themselves out of the equation or the coach takes them out of the equation. So it's a really fine balancing act to find.
And how does he find them?
They find him.
Because he's well enough known.
Yes, yeah.
So he's sought after. Probably has a waiting list.
He does, actually.
Well, what a lucky position for him to be in, because if something doesn't go right, he's got someone right over here that can jump in.
It also keeps us on our toes a bit.
It's a motivator. And at any moment, he might be saying, "I need to see you in my office." That is not what you want to hear.
No.
So I hope the weather holds for you, so you get lots of time. The little bit of time you have here.
Yesterday was
fantastic.
Oh,
was that glorious?
It was.
But you have to depend on it. In the Northeast, you can't count on it. You can count on it when you're in Australia.
Yeah.
This is what New England is. So some days you'll get rain and be furious, but
It's home.
it's home, and you got to get used to it. I mean, you can't change it.
Yep.
But I think it's just so exciting what you're doing, and I just think I'm always admiring of athletes, professional or just. Some sports take a lot more determination, focus, sacrifice than others. Others, I mean, I don't. That isn't demeaning any other athletes. That's just, this is a focus like I've never seen. I've watched Hannah in the gym. I've watched her. I had her in 5th grade, so I got to know her really well. And I watched her make the trek every weekend to Waterville with that team. And I just think, do you feel it took anything away from parts of your life that you would have liked to have had, or not so much?
Yeah, anytime you have to be gone so much, it is hard. I mean, there's certain things that, this job, if you don't perform, then you don't get paid.
Exactly.
And there's just not that job security where I have no retirement plan in triathlon. My career could end very soon, and it could happen very suddenly, and it makes you grateful for every day that it's okay. But there's also in the back of your mind knowing that it's a temporary gig.
And that's one of the things about the Olympics. I've always been nervous for Olympians because it's all the build-up and training and years of sacrifice for that one moment. I think of it with the ice skaters. I think of it with one fall and they're cooked.
Yeah.
So people that play sports where they have another shot at it in heats or whatever have a chance to catch it back up, but you don't.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, as long as I get to go there and compete, I'll be an Olympian, and obviously I want to go there and do the best I can.
Of course you do.
It would be fantastic to come home with a medal, but whether you're 4th or you're 50th, at the end of the day, you're an Olympian. First and third's pretty nice, but everybody there, it's just part of being part of something really big. And I'm so grateful that this time around, because 2008 I was pretty close to making the team and I didn't, but this time around I made it, so I just have that comfort of knowing that I'm on the team.
Well, for most people, you sound like someone who appreciates everything enough that you appreciate the fact that you're going to go.
Yeah.
You're not looking at this point to say it'll be all worth nothing if I don't come home with the gold.
Right.
You're saying I'm going.
Yeah.
And it's been my dream for years, and I'm living a dream.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's absolutely what's happening. Yeah. Do you have any thought of what you'll do when the day comes and you have to say, I don't know if I can try for any more? Do you have a major or something that you're going to want to get back to from school? Or
yeah, the first, I think this is pretty common, that the first few years that you're trying to do it and you're doing okay, but it's really hard and you're really just living, race to race, thinking if I have to place this high to be able to pay back my travel expenses. And the really hard years, that's when it's kind of in the back of your mind, maybe I should be thinking about something else. Maybe I should go back to school. Should I go to grad school? What am I going to do after the sport? But then I realized that I had to get rid of that. That I was just at this juncture where I didn't have the energy for planning.
Right.
And once I kind of gave up on that, It put me in so much better of a spot to just be focused on the present moment.
It's mindfulness.
It's absolute
it's
mindfulness.
just living the moment, and the what ifs are just nothing but trouble.
Yeah. So being a planner and being somebody who likes to have everything worked out, I fight a little bit with that because I would love to be able to plan for and say, okay, this is going to be the day I retire from the sport, and the very next day I get started on career number 2. But it doesn't work out that way.
Because you may or may not think at this point you do think you'll try another one. Mm-hmm. But when Hannah came on, she was ready to give it up and go to school. And then she was one semester in and said, I've still got the fire in my belly.
Yeah.
I've got one more Olympics in
Yeah.
me. And that's what's going to happen to you, most likely.
Yeah, we'll see. But it has to just be a day-to-day
Tell
thing.
our people, all of our people out there, when your event actually will take place.
August 4th. It's very early in the morning for everybody here.
That's right, because the time zone thing is crazy at the Olympics.
It'll be at 2 a.m. here.
Oh, you'll all be up.
I think.
We'll all be up.
Is that right? It's going to be 8 a.m. London time.
Their time.
Oh, I actually think it's worse. I think it might be 3
It's
a.m.
more than the 6 hour.
No, I think
6 hour?
London is 5 hours.
Okay, so it's
3 a.m. So I'm sorry.
So those of you who have alarm clocks, August 4th at 3 a.m. Mm-hmm. I've been up at 3. I'm not sure I'll set my clock, but we'll see it. That's the good point.
I think you should be able to see it on
the Olympics a lot.
NBC.
I mean, they have to.
Oh, yeah.
They have to give you the tape version later in the day. Yeah. Well, I hope all of you will be watching because it's so much fun. And this area knows this well with all the Olympians. It's so much fun to know someone in the Olympics. Years went by before I ever knew anyone, met anyone. And it makes it so much more fun to look forward to, and particularly with a relatively new event. So we're going to ask everyone out there to pay attention on August 4th for whenever they rerun the triathlon, because Sarah's going to be right up front. That's my prediction.
Hopefully.
And
that's the plan.
Can't say I've never been wrong, but this time I'm going to be right. Time flies around here, because we have such wonderful people like yourself that have a lot to say. I know so little about some of these events in terms of what it takes to set them up and train them and where you have to be in the bases and the moving around the world. You've really made it a lot clearer as to what goes into this preparation, and it's to be admired. You have blinders on in some sense just to stay focused and keep your eye on the ball. Yeah. And you've done that, and it'll pay off.
Hopefully. Well, it is paid off because I get to go to
You're
London.
an Olympian. You said it yourself. If that's as far as it gets, and I hope not, but if that's you were in the Olympics, and how many? It's a handful of people we know.
Right.
So the percentage is teeny. But I really thank you for doing this for us. I think our audience will enjoy it tremendously and learn a lot about what goes into one of these and what you have to give up and not give up. And you seem to be a happy camper, and
I am.
You don't feel like you've been put out and, gee, I'm missing. You had a great life probably so far. I don't think you've missed a whole lot that you can't catch up with.
I don't think so. If I felt that way, I wouldn't be doing this.
You wouldn't do it. And I hope we can maybe find another visit after the fact so we could debrief this thing and find out how it felt to you.
And possibly show off a little hardware.
If you want to bring your medal, we'll hold it right up. Or just some pictures.
Yeah.
I mean, that we like to insert pictures in our shows anyway, so that it isn't just you and me talking. It's while we're talking, there are pictures of you on one of 3 faces, and so
you can bring my bobby hat.
You can bring everything you want. There's a souvenir from London, and we would look forward to having you back, and I hope you'll do it when time allows. But in the meantime, we wish you, and I know everyone out there does, we wish you the best possible luck, and above that, fun. And I think it'll be both. So thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me on.
We appreciate it. So anyway, any of you out there that have friends that don't see Channel 8, please remember to let them know that they can go to the website and look up I think the new section is Vimeo on the bottom right of the page, and you can see all the shows that have been on. And this one will get up there as soon as it's had its run. Sarah will be on for several times a week in the next few weeks. She'll be a star before she even goes. And then Jen should be put up on the archive so that any of your friends in the world can go to the web and look you up.
Great.
And we just wish you all the best, and we'll be watching enthusiastically and with fingers crossed. So come back and see us, and we really appreciate this visit. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.